4. Types of wives who can slowly destroy a man's life. A man's life is not always destroyed by an enemy. Sometimes it is destroyed by the person sleeping beside him, not through one dramatic event, not through one violent explosion, but quietly. A little control today, a little humiliation tomorrow, one lie hidden beneath another, one sacrifice demanded after the last, until the man who entered the marriage with confidence, friendships, ambition, money, and peace can no longer recognize himself. The outside world sees a husband. It sees the photographs, the anniversary messages, the house, the children, the appearance of stability. But behind closed doors, that man may be psychologically disappearing. His friends barely hear from him. His family no longer knows what is happening. His bank account is collapsing. His decisions require permission. His confidence has been replaced by hesitation. He measures every word before speaking because one wrong sentence could create another night of punishment, and somehow he still calls it love. This documentary is not an attack on women. These destructive behaviors can exist in husbands as well as wives. But male victims are often overlooked because men are expected to remain silent, tolerate pain, solve every crisis, and never admit that their home has become the place where they feel most powerless. So this is about 4 patterns, not 4 diagnoses. Not every difficult wife is abusive. Not every disagreement is manipulation. Human beings become angry, insecure, defensive, and unreasonable. The difference is repetition. The difference is intention. The difference is what remains after years of exposure. Because conflict produces temporary pain, but psychological domination gradually destroys identity. Type 1. The controlling wife. At first, her control may look like affection. She wants to know where he is because she cares. She dislikes his friends because they are a bad influence. She questions every purchase because she is protecting the family. She demands access to his phone because married people should have nothing to hide. Each demand appears small enough to explain. But control rarely arrives wearing the face of tyranny. It arrives disguised as concern. Then the boundaries begin moving. A night with friends becomes evidence that he does not value his marriage. A private conversation becomes suspicious. Helping his parents becomes choosing them over her. Disagreeing with her becomes disrespect. Wanting time alone becomes emotional abandonment. Slowly, his world becomes smaller. He begins declining invitations before asking her because he already knows the reaction. He stops discussing certain subjects. He distances himself from anyone she dislikes. He hands over decisions simply to avoid conflict. Eventually, she does not need to forbid him from doing anything. She has trained him to forbid himself. Psychologist Evan Stark used the concept of coercive control to describe a pattern in which one partner gradually dominates the other person's daily life. The danger is not found in one isolated argument. It is found in the complete system. Monitoring, isolation, intimidation, financial restriction, emotional punishment. Rules that apply to one person but never the other. The controlling wife does not merely want influence within the marriage, she wants authority over the man inside it. French philosopher Simone de Beauvoir believed that authentic love must recognize the freedom of both individuals. To love another person is not to absorb them. It is not to reduce them into an obedient extension of your own will. When love destroys freedom, it begins transforming into possession. This is where many men become confused. They believe sacrifice is proof of commitment, so they sacrifice friendships, then privacy, then financial independence, then personal goals, then the right to speak honestly. But sacrifice is not automatically love. If only one person must continuously become smaller for the relationship to survive, the relationship is not creating unity. It is establishing hierarchy. One person exists as the authority, the other exists as the managed subject. He may still earn the money, he may still drive the car, he may appear physically stronger, yet psychologically he is living under permission. And the longer he stays inside that system, the more difficult resistance becomes. Because control does not only restrict behavior, it rewrites identity. The man begins to believe that peace depends upon obedience. He mistakes surrender for maturity. He calls fear respect. He tells himself that all marriages require sacrifice. But a marriage should require cooperation, not the disappearance of one person. The moment a man must abandon his entire identity to prove his love, he is no longer protecting a marriage. He is participating in his own erasure. Type 2. The Contemptuous Wife. The controlling wife attacks freedom. The contemptuous wife attacks worth. She doesn't always scream. Sometimes one expression is enough. The eye roll, the sarcastic laugh, the disgust in her voice when he makes a mistake, the way she corrects him in front of other people, the way she turns his insecurities into material for the next argument. Nothing he does is evaluated as an isolated action. Every mistake becomes evidence of what kind of man he supposedly is. He did not merely forget something, he is useless. He did not simply make a bad financial decision. He is a failure. He is not struggling through a difficult season. He has never been good enough. Psychologist John Gottman identified 4 destructive communication patterns: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Among them, contempt is especially dangerous. Criticism says, "You made a mistake." Contempt says, "You are the mistake." This distinction changes everything. A complaint addresses behavior, contempt attacks identity. And when contempt becomes normal inside a marriage, the home stops being a place of recovery. It becomes a courtroom in which the man is always on trial. He may work harder, earn more, help more, apologize more. But contempt is rarely satisfied by improvement because it is not searching for a solution. It is establishing superiority. The contemptuous wife needs him to occupy the lower position. His weakness becomes proof of her strength. His mistakes justify her cruelty. His silence allows her to claim she has won. Friedrich Nietzsche examined a condition he called ressentiment, a form of buried resentment that cannot express itself honestly and therefore seeks indirect revenge. Inside a marriage, unresolved resentment can become a weapon. Old failures are preserved, past confessions are stored, private vulnerabilities are remembered. Then, during conflict, everything returns. The man who trusted his wife with his deepest wounds discovers that she has memorized the location of every scar. A cruel stranger can insult a man, but a wife knows which words will reach his bones. The damage does not remain inside the argument. After years of contempt, the voice of the contemptuous partner can enter the victim's mind. Even when she is absent, he hears her judgment. He questions his intelligence before making decisions. He assumes his ideas will fail. He stops taking risks. He becomes afraid of embarrassment. The humiliation has been internalized. She no longer needs to constantly destroy his confidence. Her voice continues the work from inside him. And this is how a capable man slowly becomes passive, not because he was born weak, but because every attempt to stand was punished until remaining seated felt safer. A healthy wife can confront her husband. She can challenge his decisions. She can refuse destructive behavior. Respect does not mean silence, but there is a clear difference between correction and degradation. Correction says, "This action is hurting us." Degradation says, "You are worthless, and I want you to feel it." No marriage can remain emotionally alive when one partner feels disgust toward the other. Love cannot breathe indefinitely beneath mockery. Desire cannot survive permanent humiliation. And loyalty should never require a man to remain available for psychological execution. When the person beside him repeatedly uses intimacy as access to his weakest places, The relationship has stopped being a refuge. It has become an interrogation room. Some destructive marriages are loud. Others appear completely peaceful. There are no broken plates, no neighbors calling the police, no public confrontations, only hidden accounts, deleted conversations, missing money, contradictory stories, and a man lying awake beside someone whose face he knows, but whose reality he no longer understands. Type 3. The Deceptive Wife. The deceptive wife does not merely conceal information. She constructs an alternative reality. When the man notices inconsistencies, she denies them. When he asks questions, she attacks his insecurity. When he discovers evidence, she changes the subject. When denial becomes impossible, she blames his behavior for forcing her choices. The sequence is almost predictable. Lie, deny, deflect, attack, reverse responsibility. Eventually, the conversation is no longer about what she did. It is about how he discovered it. He becomes the criminal for looking, the jealous husband for questioning, the controlling man for wanting clarity. This can happen through infidelity, secret communication, hidden debt, gambling, money taken without consent, private promises made to other people, or an entire second identity maintained outside the marriage. Whatever its form, the deepest injury is the same. Reality itself has become unstable. Psychotherapist Robin Stern uses the term gaslighting to describe manipulation that causes another person to question their memory, perception, or judgment. The phrase is often overused. Not every disagreement about memory is gaslighting. Not every lie creates psychological domination. Gaslighting becomes destructive when reality is deliberately and repeatedly altered to gain control. The man saw something. She tells him he imagined it. He remembers a promise. She insists it never happened. He notices missing money. She accuses him of being obsessed with finances. After enough repetition, he no longer asks only, "Is she lying?" He begins asking, "Am I losing my mind?" Philosopher Immanuel Kant saw lying as an attack upon human autonomy. When someone deceives you, they do more than hide the truth. They interfere with your ability to make a free decision. A man cannot consent to the reality of his marriage when the information guiding his decision is deliberately false. He is choosing, but choosing inside a world someone else manufactured. That is why betrayal reaches beyond the affair, the money, or the message. It violates his past. He begins reviewing years of memories. Was that moment real? Was that explanation true? Who else knew? How long was he the only person living inside the lie? Shirley Glass, in Not Just Friends, examined how emotional boundaries can gradually be crossed before an affair is openly acknowledged. Betrayal does not always begin in a bedroom. Sometimes it begins with secrecy. An outside relationship becomes protected. The spouse becomes excluded. Emotional intimacy is redirected. Then the person outside the marriage begins receiving honesty, excitement, or vulnerability that has been withdrawn from the husband. The deceptive wife may still demand loyalty from him while privately exempting herself from the same standard. Her privacy becomes sacred. His questions become abusive. Her betrayal requires understanding. His reaction becomes the real problem. This double standard can imprison a man in endless self-examination. He works harder to become worthy of honesty that should never have required perfection. He believes that if he becomes more patient, successful, romantic, or forgiving, the truth will finally stop changing. But forgiveness without accountability does not rebuild trust. It teaches the betrayer that confession is optional and consequences are temporary. Trust cannot be restored by tears alone. It requires truth that remains true after the crisis ends. Without that, reconciliation becomes only another stage of deception. Type 4. The Exploitative Wife. The fourth type may say the word love constantly, but her actions reveal a different relationship. She does not see a husband. She sees a resource, a provider, a rescuer, a shield against consequences, someone whose purpose is to absorb the cost of every decision she refuses to carry. Her crises become his responsibilities. Her debts become his burden. Her desires become family necessities. Her mistakes require his forgiveness. But when he becomes exhausted, frightened, or financially broken, she treats his condition as a personal failure. The relationship flows in one direction. He gives, she consumes. He repairs, she repeats. He sacrifices, she adjusts her expectations upward. Aristotle distinguished between relationships based on pleasure, utility, and virtue. A relationship of utility survives because one person remains useful to the other. This gives us a brutal question. Does she love the man? Or does she love what continues arriving through him? Money, housing, status, protection, immigration, social respectability, someone to raise her children, someone to pay the consequences of her private behavior. The answer becomes visible when the benefits weaken. When he loses money, does affection disappear? When he needs support, does she become irritated? When he establishes boundaries, does she threaten to leave? When he stops rescuing her, does she suddenly describe him as selfish? Erich Fromm, in The Art of Loving, rejected the idea that love is merely a feeling into which people fall. Mature love requires care, responsibility, respect, and knowledge. Exploitation contains none of these. It imitates intimacy while operating like a transaction. The exploitative wife may also weaponize children. She can use access, affection, custody, or the children's perception of their father as leverage. The man is told that if he stops paying, forgiving, or obeying, he will lose more than the marriage. He may lose his children. So he continues financing his own destruction because the price of resistance appears unbearable. This is emotional blackmail at its most effective. Fear, obligation, guilt. He stays because he is afraid. He gives because he feels responsible. He remains silent because guilt tells him that protecting himself would mean abandoning everyone else. But responsibility without boundaries becomes self-destruction. A man can love his family and still refuse exploitation. He can protect his children without pretending abuse is normal. He can show compassion without becoming an unlimited resource for someone who rejects accountability. There is nothing noble about allowing another adult to destroy everything you built while calling your silence loyalty. A destructive wife does not always ruin a man by leaving him. Sometimes she ruins him by convincing him to abandon himself. First, he gives up his voice to keep the peace, then his friendships to prove loyalty, then his money to solve another crisis, then his dignity to protect the family's image. Finally, he stands before a mirror and sees a man who survived the marriage only by disappearing inside it. But understand this clearly. Marriage is not ownership. Forgiveness is not permission. Patience is not passive surrender. Loyalty is not the obligation to tolerate endless betrayal. And being a good man does not mean becoming an easy man to destroy. A healthy marriage can survive conflict because both people remain accountable. A destructive marriage survives only because one person continuously absorbs the damage. The controlling wife takes his freedom. The contemptuous wife takes his worth. The deceptive wife takes his reality. The exploitative wife takes everything he can provide and then blames him when nothing remains. A man must examine patterns, not promises. Apologies mean nothing when behavior returns unchanged. Tears are not transformation. Fear of losing someone is not proof that keeping them is wise. And love that demands the destruction of your identity is not love. It is captivity wearing a wedding ring. The most dangerous prison is not the one whose doors are locked. It is the one a man refuses to leave because he has been taught that suffering proves devotion. But there comes a moment when survival requires truth, when the man must stop asking how much more he can endure and begin asking what his endurance is teaching the people around him. He does not need to become cruel. He does not need revenge. He does not need to publicly destroy the person who wounded him, but he must recover the right to see clearly, to speak honestly, to establish boundaries, to seek professional and legal help when necessary, to protect his finances, to protect his children, to protect the part of himself that has not yet been erased. Because walking away from destruction is not always failure. Sometimes failure is remaining until there is no life left to save. A marriage should be a place where two lives become stronger without either life becoming smaller. And if one person must disappear so the relationship can continue, what remains is not a marriage. It is domination. The wedding may still exist on paper. The photographs may still hang on the wall. The world may still call him a husband. But beneath the title, a human being is fighting to exist, and the day he finally chooses truth over illusion, boundaries over fear, and dignity over captivity is not the day his life ends. It is the day he takes it back.